Hi, everybody. I hope that you guys are doing very, very well. Let me figure out. Should have turned off. Let's see. Hi there. How are you? Well, I wanted to pop in and say good morning. So, good morning, Tennessee. Good morning, DB. Um, I'm working. And so I had about 30 minutes. I got about 30 minutes that I can just sort of chit chat and talk. Hey, Sunset, good to see you. Jacket Blue, welcome. So I'm working my behind off, which is good, right? We're always in search of a smaller behind. So it has been pretty fun. Number one, it has been absolutely great that I get to spend so much time with my granddaughter, and we're having a great time playing and taking naps and having bottles and messy food. So we're doing all the fun things that you're supposed to do with little babies. Um, and then as soon as I finish taking care of the baby all day long and my daughter, then then I go to my apartment and I start trying to keep my business afloat. so so I'm working every night, and then I work 9 hours today and 9 hours tomorrow. So this is temporary. It's not forever. It is for about 5 weeks, and then I'll be headed back to Houston in my nice, boring, easy life. So very long days. Hey, Martin Smallwood, good to see you. I'm in your neck of the woods, Martin. So she hurt herself badly. And so she had surgery and she is now recuperating. And she had 6 weeks of downtime, and she's got a little baby. So the husband has to work. And so me and the husband are dividing up days. And I told my daughter yesterday that she is vindicated in terms of being tired, and that it's hard work being a full-time mom and taking care of the house and doing all the things, cooking and doing all the things that homemakers do. And she is that one little girl, little 7, 8 month old baby, February, nearly 9 months old. She has put 3 grown adults down. So she has definitely won. My husband came, he stayed. So when we first found out about her getting hurt, my husband left immediately driving up here. I stayed at home and spent a few days getting everything in order, so that I could be here for 5 or 6 weeks. I got here and he was like, I got to tell you, I'm ready to go back to Houston. He said, because I am exhausted. You just don't understand or remember how physical it is taking care of a little one. Like, it's a lot more than what we normally, do. I don't spend my days crawling around on the floor. You know what I mean? So getting on the floor, standing up, sitting down, standing up, sitting down, carrying around, I think she's like 12 or 14 pounds. She's a little babe. She's tiny little thing. But anyway, so I'm gonna be in tip-top shape when when this is over with. But that is why I have not been around at all. That's why I tried the other night to do a video at the end of this uber long day. And I said, I really want to cover this case with Chloe Driver. And so I made a video at like 4 a.m. then later that night I was going to come back and do the discussion on Jason Spillers. And it was like 10 or 11 at night, and I was so tired, but I had said, no, I'm going to do this. I got to do it. It doesn't matter how tired I am. And while I was doing it, the silly internet went off. And so the internet went off in the middle, and I was like, it's done. And I fell asleep, and it was in. So that's where we're at. Hey, Desired, good to see you. So that's why I have not been around, and that's why, I didn't do what I said I was going to do. So I apologize. I was really being tough with myself. And then when the internet went down, I was like, this is too much to try to get done. So here I am, just an unorganized discussion. And there were a couple of things that I was going to talk about. I was in complete shock at the attacks and the hit pieces on Tulsi Gabbard. I voted for her. I wanted her to be the presidential candidate. I guess that was 2020. And now they've come out with this crazy story about she and her husband are like in a cult or something crazy like that, but it's not real. I don't remember what they call it. Where is it? Yeah, right here. It's such a weird story. And this isn't going to be like a political discussion. I don't want to talk politics or anything. But my focus has been sort of kind of targeting the mainstream media and their tactics and the way that they manipulate people. Look at this. Look at this hit piece on her. Hold on just a second. So this is she and her husband when they got married, right? Well, she's Samoan and he is from India, so he's Hindu. So they practice the Hindu religion, right? But I thought we lived in the United States of America. I didn't think we were supposed to judge people on their religion. And yet these people that, basically fussed at us and yelled at us because we judged, I guess, Islamist after 9/11, and then people worrying about like those coming from Haiti, that we shouldn't be judging people on their religion, but they're doing it right here. This was the Daily Mail. So this is her husband. He's like a filmmaker, cinematographer. He makes commercials, things like that. And then here she is. Her whole career has been in the military. She does surf. There's nothing unusual about this picture. She's surfing. The water's cold. December is when Hawaii has the big giant monster, like 20-foot waves. So I just found it to be such a strange and distasteful attack on this woman who has been picked to be the, what is it? Department of National Intelligence. They've been married a very, very long time, decades. It's not like it was, a recent marriage or anything. And supposedly, here's how this is what I was looking for. They bring it back to saying that she is Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, best known for chanting mantras, vegetarianism, and yoga. And now Hare Krishna movement exploded across America in the 1960s and 70s. And if you remember, we'd go to the airport and they'd be there and they'd be asking for money and handing out something. I don't remember what they handed out, maybe little pamphlets or something. So it is so odd to me, so her husband surfs. She was also a big surfer. That's kind of how they met, became friends. They live their life between Hawaii, Australia, New Zealand. I think her mother was from New Zealand, maybe. And so they're spiritual, but without that religious connotation, right? That without the Christian part of it. Here's a recent photograph of the two of them. They're just people. I am in complete and total shock that the mainstream media has chosen to attack this woman on her husband and then their religion. I'm in total shock. So they're claiming that they're Hindu. They bought into this Hare Krishna or Krishna mentality, and therefore she's not appropriate for the director of national intelligence. Oh, the other reason that they said was because she left the Democrat Party, that she used to be a Democrat and she recently changed her party affiliation and became a Republican. Again, I'm thinking to myself, can we just stop a minute and quit being reactive to this mainstream media and the silly hysteria? We've got people telling us that we don't know what a man is or what a woman is. We have people that are telling us that it is completely appropriate to do medical experimentation on children, that it is actually a treatment for a psychological disorder to take the chemical that is used for the chemical castration of rapists and pedophiles, to use that on your children to stop puberty. That's right. The puberty blockers that doctors are using today in the United States, what I believe amounts to human experiments, medical experiments, is the same chemical that is used for chemical castration. What kind of upside down world are we living in? What kind of upside down world is it when we let the mainstream media, these people that have told us it is healthy to take your little boy and turn him into a eunuch with puberty blocking chemicals? That is healthy. That is good. And if you won't do that for your child, then we're going to allow the United States government to take your child from you. That sounds okay to some people, but they're having a little bit of a problem that Tulsi Gabbard and her husband are Hindu. Weird. So I do think that we are a nation of immigrants, and we come from every conceivable background and culture across the globe. Our DNA is so intermixed that there's no purebreds running around in the United States. We're all a mixture of our immigrant forefathers and foremothers. To let the mainstream media tell us what we should be thinking and feeling and believing is really frightening at this point. And I find it laughable that they attack the religion of this woman. She has been in a long established marriage. She is a lieutenant colonel in the United States military. They are a committed, loving family. He's a hard worker. They have kids together. There's no arrests. There's no kinds of, like big money dropping into their bank accounts. That you can't say the same for people like Mitch McConnell and Mike Johnson and those other good Republicans, John Thune. Why would you attack this woman? And why wouldn't we embrace a government that was a mixture, that was made up of both conservative and liberal ideologies. Why wouldn't we embrace that? I am so confused by this mainstream media that I don't even know what to believe. I can't even, I watch them now and I think the way they are behaving, the things they're doing, what have they told us that was true, right? It's so odd. Had a guy, can't remember now what his role, he was somewhere in the United States government. I don't remember what it was, but he said that the reason that Donald Trump got 75 plus million votes, more than any other Republican candidate in the history of the country, that he got 75 million votes and everything went conservative, right? I mean, this was a really, the people have spoken. We, the people, all of us, not just a dominant party, but all of us have spoken, liberals with conservatives, that we can't do this anymore. We need the inflation. We need the economy straightened out. It is a mess. We cannot keep taking trillions of dollars, sending it to other countries, protecting their borders, when our own border is being invaded in a country altering way. People just want to get back to normal. Nobody wants to be mean or hateful or bad. We just want normality. If you make a good salary, if you work hard and you work a full 40-hour week, don't you think you ought to be able to go to the damn grocery store and buy groceries? And we are not there anymore. At one time, butter was $9. It still has only come down to around $6, but that's absurd. The percentage to pay butter or eggs, it's crazy. Crazy. I know people who do not buy beef. They can't afford to just buy hamburger meat anymore. They've taken all of our protein sources and inflated the prices on them to the point that everyone is just about forced to live off of cereal. It's crazy what's happening. It's like Orwell has come to life, and you don't know when it happened. And now people just don't know what to believe, and it's very frightening and scary. So, I felt like this one hit piece on Tulsi Gabbard was just so odd and over the top and weird, and I thought it needs to be okay to say, why are you reporting like this? Like, why you didn't hesitate to call a presidential candidate. You didn't hesitate to call him Adolf Hitler. You didn't hesitate to say that people who would vote for him are fascist or garbage or irredeemable. What was the other word? Deplorable. So strange. And now, of course, with the way the vote fell, you're calling 3/4 of the nation these terrible names and stuff. So they say that the reason that Kamala Harris lost is because we are a nation of racists. How can you say that? African American men, Hispanics, how can you say that? Everyone across all strata voted for him. And it was Sonny Hoskins said that it was the uneducated white women that voted Trump into office. Oh, no. That's silly. That's absolutely foolish to believe that. And yet they continue to say it. They have not stopped to say what happened. Like the entire nation backlashed against Joe Biden, the current government trajectory. What happened? No, people are not saying that. They're falling back on the old name calling. You're racist. You're all racist. How can these families be racist? We're not all racist. This is crazy. But I will say that the guy that owns the San Francisco Times, have y'all seen this story about the San Francisco Times? He is a medical doctor with a PhD. And he has now come out and said that he is completely scrapping the newspaper as it is. He's changing it so that there is an equal number of what he's calling voices, that there's an equal number of voices that are liberal and conservative, as well as in the middle, in between. I guess kind of people like me that, financially, I'm definitely conservative. Socially, I'm really, really liberal. So middle of the road kind of people. And he's not going to, he's going to have the newspaper set up old school, where when they report stories, when they report the news, it's only fact. He's not going to allow the writers to have any of the editorial opinion to be interjected into the news story, and that he will provide editorial pages opportunities that will have an equal number of left voices, middle voices, and right side voices. And that he has apparently he's had board members that have quit in anger. There have been people that have said, how dare you? You can't give a platform to the conservative right. And he came out and he did interviews and he said, I don't care. He's in California. He said, I don't care. The pressure that is put on me, I've made my decision, and what we've been doing is wrong. And that we are a nation of people, and that all people should have the opportunity to voice their opinions, to discuss their lifestyles and the challenges that they face in their station in life. And that, we were wrong to let one group dominate the public discourse. So I thought, wow, that is refreshing to say the least. Now you don't know how many more, newspapers will follow, but don't you kind of wish we'd go back to old school? The news should be the news, just the facts, ma'am. Just tell us what happened and leave all of your opinions out of it. Trump is not in office, and there are already ripples being seen of good things. I believe Trump is talking to world leaders already. Yeah, did you guys see where Netanyahu, they bombed the Iranian nuclear reactor? Did y'all see that? It's a big deal that apparently Tehran is really upset. But the reason that I brought this up, Thomas Randall, the reason I brought that up is because Biden has been really, really, really instrumental in saying to Israel, don't touch the nuclear facilities. Whatever you do, leave the nuclear facilities in place. And yet now Netanyahu says, I'm going to do what I want to do. And he goes on and does it now. It sounds like he may be feeling empowered. So we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. The news should just be the news. Martin, here's the big question. How many arguments and disagreements and fights would have been rendered moot if people just reported the news and didn't interject all this heavy, opinionated gloom and doom and fear? You know what we're looking at? It's not really even the news. It's good old-fashioned, it's like the Russian-owned or not Russian, but German-owned media, where they just told people lies to manipulate them, to make them accept what Hitler was doing. That is what our mainstream media has turned into. It is an absolute government propaganda machine without any question. It is. So I think going back to just report the news only, it's not your job as the reporter to tell us what we should think about the news. Just give the news to us. Just tell us what happened. Just report the facts, what, when, where, and how. And then people can make of it what they will. And then, of course, there's always opportunity for the editorializing that people would then give their opinion. I was particularly struck by this one young woman. I'm sure you guys all watched it. I said I wasn't going to play it on my channel because it feels exploitative on some level. And that's all the young women that were crying and melting down the night of the election, the day after the election. And these women are genuinely disturbed. Like, they feel really frightened and really afraid. And I know a lot of people have sort of laughed and thought it was so odd and extreme. And I make jokes too about, I love those sky screamers, but this was different because there was a lot of these young women, and they felt it was a personal attack on them. Like, there were a lot of young women that made videos crying and breaking down, who asked the question, does America hate me this much? Do you hate me this much as an African-American woman? Do you hate me this much that you would elect, Donald Trump? And it wasn't about them at all. It wasn't personal. It felt personal. They felt targeted, but that's not what it was about at all. It was legitimately, it was about the state of the economy. It was about, in my opinion, that our lives have been taken out of our hands. There's no jobs. People can't find jobs, and things are odd. Things are strange. When the government is telling you, accept these people coming into your neighborhood and destroying your peace and killing the Canadian geese down at the duck pond and eating them, you just be quiet. We're going to let these people come, and we're not going to take one step to protect you and your interest as an American citizen. When you reach that point, people begin to ask themselves, is this really America's government? Is someone else in charge of our government? These are insane decisions. Allowing a biological male to beat up a female and then give him a medal for doing it at the Olympics, and people advocate for that. Women are now advocating to allow a biological male to physically assault a biological female boxer, and they think that's just great. It's such a odd. How long did we women, of a certain age group, my age, how long did we fight? My mother's age group, my grandmother, how long did the fight go on to just, if we don't feel like looking all cute, I'm just going to wear blue jeans and a cap on my head, and nobody better say anything about it. My value as a woman is not based on how pretty I am or a certain weight that I am, that my physical presentation is not really a reflection of my worth and value as a human being. We fought for a long time to get out of those 3-inch heels, making meatloaf by 5 o'clock so that the little hubby is happy when he comes home at the end of the day. We fought decades for that, to get away from that mentality. And now we've got this bizarre situation like Dylan Mulvaney, what's his name? Dylan, y'all know, like 100 Days of Girlhood. I can't think of his last name. Mulvaney, I think. And then he comes back with this bastardized version of what a woman is supposed to be. But they want our little boys to look like that. They believe that our little boys will be healthier and happier if they dress like the female gender role that biological females rejected decades ago. Someone explain this insanity to me, please. It's nonsense. Names another issue in our lives where we have used mutilation, the ultimate act of self-harm, the ultimate act of cutting, to remove your breast, to make yourself a eunuch, because you have a psychological disorder. You're having an identity disorder. There's not anything physically wrong with your body. It is here. This is a need to identify the stress, the anxiety, the fear, and embrace, explore your identity, know who you are, find out the things that you do well, the things that you enjoy, and then figure out how to do them more, and embrace yourself and love yourself. How is mutilation, how is that supposed to make them healthy? I mean, the German doctors were doing experimentation on human beings. And we said that was horrible when the Third Reich was allowing doctors to perform doing animal studies, except they were doing it on human beings. And we said, what? This is monstrous. Can't do this. Can't desecrate the human body. And we're doing it. And we have people that tell us that if we feel that that is not appropriate, that we should be protecting children and we should be taking care of them and getting them to a healthy place, that somehow we have the problem, and that the ones that want to take our little boys and have them play out a role that has been long rejected by biological females, that those people are somehow enlightened and superior. So we have heard the nation, I think, express dismay. I think they did it through their vote, and they said, we're in weird times and we just need to slow it down and let's get grounded and let's try to get back to normal. And I'm interested now what you guys think about what I said. I'm going to read some of your comments. I'm wearing some glasses today that are really reflective, so they look kind of strange. So sorry. I have a ring light right here, so I'm trying to, but still so reflective. Sorry about that. The women who feel things are horrible now don't know how things were very recently. Can I ask why they just let people in and almost encourage it? I can't understand why. They did encourage it, Miss Catherine. I don't think almost. I don't think that's true. They absolutely encouraged it. I had Thomas Randall too. I had such an amazing experience, unexpected, like totally caught me off guard. And it was this. So I came up here. I don't remember exactly what the day was, right? It was sometime around the election. I was at home. Maybe it was the day of the election that my daughter got hurt. I don't know, because it was all such a blur. Our lives just went whoop and turned upside down. I think she got hurt on the day of the election. And then it was like 3 or 4 days later that I was then getting on the airplane to fly up here. My husband drove up that night. And then I came up like 3 or 4 days later, I think. And I was in shock. And here's what I mean. So I always fly the same flight every time. I'm a creature of habit. I find what works and then I do it. Um, and when I got to the airport and I got through security and I, did everything I was supposed to do, stopped and bought my bottle of water and my Diet Coke because I'm a creature of habit and that's what I do. And I got everything all ready and I went to sit at the gate to wait to board the plane. And when I was buying my Diet Coke and my water, I was like, this is great. There's nobody in the store and I just walk in and get what I want. And this is really awesome. And then I did notice that in a couple of the little stores, the workers were like this. Like they looked really bored. And I was like, this is a little odd. And I got down to the end where you wait to board the flight. And I had often joked with my husband and my family that they had basically turned the domestic flights into a bus terminal. It was like waiting for a bus, right? So crowded, no place to sit. Most of the people were speaking other languages that you couldn't understand. And, sometimes I'd sit on the floor and wait for them to call my flight. And this day, it was like I had been propelled backward 10 years because I walked into that part of the terminal. And of course, it's all these big, huge windows, big, tall ceiling. And I was like, no one's here. Where are they? Why is every seat empty except for about 25 or 30 seats? And I just sat down and I was looking around. I was thinking, this is really curious. Like, what is happening here? So I pulled up my flight and I looked at the seating and I was like, this plane is like 1/3 full. And usually it's packed. And I was like, okay, I'm very confused. And there's definitely something here that's different. And so I sat there and I kept going through my mind, like, what could be happening? And then I thought maybe they've canceled flights. Maybe there's like a big storm somewhere. So I turn around and I look at the big board that's got all the flights. All the normal flights are there. I know them by heart because this is my normal flight that I take all the time. Everything was there. And I was like, this is so weird. Like, what is happening? So I got up and I went down to there's a little candy store that's right on the corner. And I went down there and I got some nerds. And when I was checking out, because I didn't want to, I was trying to just be, like low key. And I was like, wow. I said, you guys are really slow today, aren't you? And the girl looked at me and she went. And I said, is everything okay? Did something happen? Maybe they cut flights? And she went. And I said, how long has it been like this? And she said, since the election. I said, really? She said, we can't talk about it. I said, you're not allowed to talk about it? She went. I said, don't talk about it. Don't lose your job. And so then I went and sat down. There was a man sitting there, had a nice suit on. He looked like a business traveler. And he was on the phone with somebody and he was looking around kind of with that same look I initially had. And he was talking to somebody and he said, this is very strange. He said, where did they all go? So what I think, I don't know. Nobody's told me. I don't have any inside knowledge. But do you think that NGOs would work that fast? Do you think the day or 3 days after an election, do you think they would already be going, no more flights to the US, no more flights to the interior, no more, we're done. Money's over, closing up shop, turn around, go home. I do not have the answer to that, but I will tell you in no uncertain terms, flying was like going back 10 years. So some people have said, I read an article in the newspaper here that there was a big migrant shelter in Denver And that migrant shelter, immediately within a day or so of the election, they began shutting things down and telling people go away, that the money was gone, it was over, and there was no more, and they were done. That they would be closing the doors by January the 20th. Isn't that crazy? So I never would have believed, yeah, that's exactly right, Martin. It was like, where's the beef? Like, where'd all these people go to? Because it used to be chaos waiting for a flight. So I don't know. It's weird. I would never have believed that the changes would come that quickly. No, I was blown away. I was blown away. I think it will take a while to trust the mainstream media. So far, they're still acting crazy. Lily, I love the stargazer lily picture, by the way. My favorite flower. They are acting crazy. They are acting crazy. It's crazy that all Americans across the spectrum, they all voted for Trump, for the Senate, for the House of Representatives. I mean, did you see California? California, half the state has gone red. No, this was not about race. It was not about gender. This was about our own homes. This was about our own lives. This was about the fight has been too hard the past 3 years or 4 years. It's been too hard for all of us. It doesn't matter who we are, where we live. We're all struggling. And that is the truth. In my opinion. I could be wrong, but that's my opinion. No more $1,400 a month for food in New York. Yeah. Well, and they have the same exact situation here. And we are already down into the 20s. So what are you going to do with these people where they'll have like 8 or 10 people living in a 2-bedroom apartment? The government is paying the rent, and no, they won't now. The NGOs are not paying rent. It's over now. Starting December, no rent paid for the people that are the illegals or the migrants that are here. No rent paid. They can't live on the streets. Same thing in New York. You can't live on the streets in the winter in Colorado or New York or North Dakota. You can't. What will become of these people? Where will they go? I mean, this is a complicated mess that was created, I think, by people that simply just don't know how to manage a business. You know, if you've never managed a business, if you've never owned a business, if you've never had to go through the motions of keeping it afloat and making sure that at the end of each month the ends meet, then what do you do when you get millions of dollars because you join the government? You don't know how to manage it. Look at Kamala Harris. She had one of the biggest fundraising campaigns of all time. There was a total of over $2 billion with a B, $2 billion that was raised for her. Not only did she spend $1 billion of direct funds, she spent $1 billion, but then she also went $20 million in the hole. Have y'all embraced this idea that if she could do that in 4 months, what would she have done to the United States of America? If she had become president, no holds barred, unlimited amount of money, what would she have done? I think it would have been the nail in the coffin. I do. I can't imagine anyone being able to spend $1.2 billion in 4 months. It's mind-boggling. And by comparison, Donald Trump spent, I think, 380 something million with an M. It's crazy. I'm anxious to see what Elon and Vivek do with the Doge department. So funny, Critter. It almost feels like trolling, doesn't it? And did you see Elon's job announcement? He wants unpaid geniuses for the position. I think NGOs would be doing as many as possible before the end comes, like trying to throw as much to the Ukraine as possible. So The Pentagon is throwing every dime they have at Ukraine before the end, which just makes me disgusted. There are surgeons who are working overtime so they can do more gender reassignment surgeries before the end. Yeah, we got to mutilate as many little boys as possible, right? So they have speeded it up. But the NGOs said, I'm going to take my ball and go home. I'm going to keep as much of this money as I can because there's no more coming. And that's what I think. I think they're benefiting from it, lining their own pockets. That's what I think. I'm anxious to see. Oh, I already read that one. All right. So anyway, I feel terrible about the young women, that are so disturbed and weeping, and they are really afraid about the future. They do feel like they are under real threat. And a lot of that is because they're listening to these progressive talk shows that have said things like, oh, America's just elected Adolf Hitler. They believe this. They buy into it. They have a lot of trust in the news, and they listen to The View and things like that. And it is really sad to see the level of manipulation that has happened to some people. And I don't just think that it's just from the liberal side. I think the same is true of the right wing. I think there's a lot of people that buy into Alex Jones and those types of talk shows, and they believe that wholeheartedly, instead of, they're podcasters. They're trying to make a living. They're just trying to be sensational and exciting and get as many viewers as possible. But the reality, what we've really seen, and this is the reason that I appreciate the owner of the San Francisco Times, is these people are truly manipulated and they're frightened. They're really scared. Just like I think there were far right-wing people that really believed that they were about to be invaded, that we were, China was about to cross over our borders. And I think people really believe that. And we've got to get back to rational, between the lines, just tend to your business, tend to your life, and try to remember podcasters are just like Hollywood. They're just trying to be the most exciting show, the most sensational, or the most outrageous. They're trying to get people to come back and choose to watch them. And unfortunately, there's some people that buy into all the hype and they start believing it. And the reality is it's not true. The government works at a very slow pace, and it's pretty hard to get anything done. About the only time that you can get anything done is if you hold the executive, the judiciary, and the Congress, the Senate and the House, and, conservatives do right now. I'm a little nervous about that. I always like a balance of blue and red, because the way that the Constitution wants it to work is to keep check on each other and not let anybody get too weird and too nutty. And that's one of the reasons why I'm just tickled to death about Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. The reason I'm tickled to death about Elon is because I'm that person that when Elon said to Trump, we're going to build bases on the moon and we're going to fly to Mars, I said, hell yeah. Like, I was like, you got my vote for nothing more than I want to see people on the moon. I want to see people on the moon, living there, working there, building structures, building a second space station as a halfway point to Mars. I want to see colonizing on Mars. That is the coolest thing imaginable, right? So I think it's a great government. I think I love that the old guard, the old Republicans that I despise, I'm glad that they have had their wings really clipped. I do think that Trump probably leans more left than right. I think he's probably more of like my mama's Democratic type party. And I think both extremes went too far. I think the liberal side went way too far. And I think the right wing has gone way too far. And it is so nice to see just middle of the road. And it's good. It's going to be an interesting experiment. It's going to be an interesting experiment for sure. But the one thing about JD Vance, I was against the nomination of JD Vance. I thought that was a poor choice. I had hoped that he would choose Tulsi Gabbard for vice president, but initially I was against JD Vance, but then I really started trying to figure out who he was, I knew about the movie, and all that, but who he was, what he wanted, what he looked at. And really his thing is he wants to rejuvenate, revive Appalachia. And if you've been part of my channel, that's like my one soapbox that I will get up on and scream and yell about is the way that the people in the Ohio River Valley, the way that their lives have been dismantled and decimated by these idiots in the United States government that sent all the jobs in factories overseas. So I'm now a big supporter of JD Vance. Will he do that, or did he just use that as a talking point? We don't know. Just like any other government official, we have to wait and see. I hope he's telling the truth. I hope American manufacturing comes back. I hope people can find jobs, or the big one, if they got a job and they want to switch jobs, they should be able to do that. This is the United States of America. But if there's no jobs, you can't switch jobs. Got to pay the bills. So I'm good. I'm feeling hopeful. I think the appointing Matt Gaetz, that was so in your face. I'll tell you what it said to me. It said, I think it was I don't know that he'll be confirmed. I think it depends if John Thune lets them just do blanket appointments and they don't have to go through the Senate approval process. If they make Matt Gaetz go through the Senate approval process, I think he won't get through. I don't think he'll make it. But I do think that Trump is speaking when he says that it's the new AG will be Matt Gaetz. I think he's speaking, and what he's saying is, we're coming for you. There's going to be prosecutions. Those of you that have invaded the Department of Justice and that you are hurting American citizens using a corrupt law practice, we're not allowing this anymore. We're cleaning you out. I think it was a declaration. I think it was a war cry toward the deep state, is what I think. And if that is true, things should get very interesting in the next year. So we'll see. But yeah, Matt Gaetz, probably not at all would have been even in my mind for that job. Like never, but he's it. So, all right, people, I got to go back to work. So I hope everybody is doing well. I miss you guys. I do. I miss talking with you guys. Like right now, it's so fun just sitting and talking, and it is what it is. This is temporary, isn't it? Y'all remind me, everybody say, this is temporary, Jules. It is temporary. I will one day walk back to my boring, quiet little life, and then I'll be really missing this hectic moment in my life. It has been absolutely delightful to be granny and taking care of this sweet baby from morning, noon, and night. Let me see. I've had lots of pictures. Let me see. Well, I guess I hadn't downloaded all my pictures. Thought I had them. Oh, breakfast. There's breakfast time. She's eating eggs. She don't tweet. I love my baby. Nap, baby girl. She's having a little nap after a ride. This picture was made a couple of days ago. She is 8 months old. Look how little she is. But she's already pulling up, standing up, and walk. She'll take steps and walk. I'll have to download my other. Oh, here. Look at this. Let me show you. This is the airport when I was telling you how abandoned it was. Look. Uh-oh. Look at the video of the airport. Isn't that crazy? Like there's no one there. Look at all those empty seats. Unbelievable. Usually this part, wall to wall people, and they just were not there. Gone, poof, like that. Just like 3 or 4 days after the election, just disappeared. It's crazy. It's the craziest thing ever. I was on a road. Nobody sat with me, not beside me, nor across the aisle from me. I lifted up the center arm things, stretched my feet out, put the tray down, put my little iPad up to watch my movie. It was fabulous. Okay. I'm not an elitist. I am a comfort queen. I'm an old lady. I need my comfort. Okay. I hate being on an airplane like this. Hate it. So some of them have desired. Yeah, some of them, but not all of them. So it's very strange. All right, I do have to go. I miss you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you haven't subscribed, I hope you will. Please hit the thumbs up, and I'll be back whenever I can. Remember, 5 weeks of this, and then it'll be back to normal, and I'll be back to making videos again. I am so sorry that I am non-existent right now on the streets of YouTube. All right. See you later. Bye.